right, let's start. So
This
welcome.
meeting is being recorded.
So welcome everyone to class 45, Biblical Foundation Genesis, the book of beginnings. What a blessing to have you all here. So let's start with a review of the post-flood economy. And so if I can, let's ask first for Lucas to read Genesis 9:4 in English. Genesis 9:4, please.
But flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat.
Okay. Remember, English is a little irregular, so it's not blood, it's blood. All right. With two O's, you would think it's blood, a long O, but English is irregular, so it's blood. Okay. Jojo, Portuguese. Okay, they froze. So let's see if they come back soon. Well, I'm sure that I could hear them speak the Portuguese. So go ahead, Pedro. Can you please give us question A in English?
What profound scientific truth is stationed here?
Okay, so do you remember?
That the blood is life.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Blood is the source of life. And remember, scientists didn't discover that for a long, long time. And how do we know that? Do you know how they tried to fix illnesses until, I don't know, the 18th century? By bloodletting. You're ill and they drained your blood. And that was wrong. Blood is the source of life. That was a very bad idea. So science took 4,000 years to catch up with the Bible's scientific truth. Okay, so I think they're coming back in. There they are. You froze for a little while.
Yeah.
No problem. So I heard your Portuguese beautifully rendered, but through the door. So Joyce, can you kindly give us question B in English?
Why is eating blood forbidden and only now?
Okay, so we just were talking about Genesis 9:4. Life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat. So it's now forbidden.
Yeah, there's life inside.
Exactly right. So blood is the source of life. And what might be another reason for us to be forbidden from eating blood, drinking blood? Well, one thing, if we think together, they were, and I think it's coming up shortly, they're being allowed to eat meat. And if you're not careful, you eat meat and there's blood with it. Right? So they were then being told, no, you don't want to eat the blood, only the meat. Okay, and another way to think of this is it's a substitute sacrifice for sin. So we're just starting now the sacrificial substitute, and you don't want to drink any blood, part of the sacrifice. So Johan, can you please read question C in English?
What is the eternal truth established here?
Okay, so you can't eat or drink blood. But what's the eternal truth behind that?
That the blood is what give pardon to the sins.
The Father, sorry, to the Father is sin?
Well, I think that the eternal trust is that the blood is what what mm, purifies the sin.
Okay. All right. So blood perhaps was one of the first problems for original sin. Well, I think what I would say is it's the divine sacredness of blood. So that's the truth established here. So because we know whose blood was spilled for our salvation. And so we're now getting our first idea, foreshadowing of the divine sacredness of blood, right? So Jesus's blood was essential to our salvation. And the Bible is now saying blood is important. It's divinely sacred, particularly in human beings. So Lucas, and Lucas gets to be our Bible verse reader tonight. Now, 2 verses in a row. Lucas, can you please read Genesis 9:5?
And surely your blood of your lips will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it, and at the hand of man, at the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man.
Very nice. A couple of suggestions, Lucas. It's not lives, it's lives. So remember that silent E. If it was singular, you can see it'd be well, so lives, and then require, not require. And so again, the E at the end tends to make an open vowel sound. So it's more require. Very nice. Okay, so I think it's is it Johan's turn for the Portuguese?
Não, mãe. Certamente requererei o vosso sangue, o sangue das vossas vidas, da mal de todo o animal, o requererei, como também da mal do homem, e da mal do irmão. De cada requererei a vida do homem.
Beautiful. Any suggestions from our Portuguese scholars?
No, all great.
Fantastic. Nice. Okay, so that was Lucas. So Pedro, can you please read question D in English?
Which of the 10 commandments is anticipated here?
Okay, very good. Anticipated. So just a little more emphasis on the anticipated.
Anticipated.
Very good. And my apologies, last class, I was thinking of, oh, this is the second commandment in the first group, but I mistakenly made a mistake. So it's not the second commandment. So which commandment is this?
I think it is the sixth.
Absolutely right, Pedro. Terrific. And so the where I prefer looking up the 10 Commandments is in Exodus 20. And in this case, it's Exodus 20, verse 13. Thou shalt not kill. Okay, so let's go ahead. So that was Pedro. So Joyce, can you please read question E in English?
What is the logic developed here from animal to man?
Okay, so we just learned that blood shall not be eaten. So blood is divine. But what seems to be the implication here from Genesis 9:5?
That God will will require the blood from the hand of every beast?
Well, at every beast, I'm not sure, because remember, blood will be spilled. We're now allowed to kill animals to eat their meat. We can't drink their blood, but we're going to be spilling blood of animals. But what this seems to say that the life of a man is much more important, right? So in other words, if animal blood is too sacred to eat, then all the more so man's blood. Okay, so don't even think of drinking on an altar something that says it is Jesus's blood. Right?
Okay.
Okay, because this is saying, hey, if you drink the blood of your lives, I will require. So you take the life of someone else, I will require that life. So Johann, now it's Johann's turn for a verse. Can you kindly read Genesis 9:6 in English?
Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God made he man.
Okay, thank you. And whose turn for the Portuguese?
Quim derramar o sangue do homem, pelo homem o seu sangue será derramando, porque Deus fez o homem conforme a sua imagem.
Very good. I think you said derramando, but it's derramado. So it's past tense, not the
Derramado.
gerund. Any other suggestions, Pedro or Lucas?
No.
Nice. Okay, so now this goes to Lucas. Lucas, can you please read question F in English?
Capital punishment biblical.
Okay, well pronounced. What do you think?
I think it is.
Yes, I think you're right. Absolutely. And I think you know that the United States is one of the few countries that still allows capital punishment. Maybe because it's one of the oldest Christian nations and have not gone with the world. So here comes Mary Ann, who joined us at the service last night. And she's connecting to audio. Welcome, Mary Ann. So can you hear us, Mary Ann? Okay, she's still connecting. So let's go ahead. So that was Lucas. So Pedro, can you read question G, please? Mary Ann,
In
wait a
heaven,
sec, 1 second. Mary Ann, when you can hear us, say something. No, not yet. Go ahead, Pedro. Question G.
who in heaven or on earth will execute such a judgment?
Okay. So what do you think?
Mm, The man?
The man, exactly right. Well, and remember, if you're not caught by man, you will be caught by God. So if you shed a man's blood, right, you're going to face punishment in heaven. But this seems to be saying now that man can punish man. So let me try again to see if Marianne is connected. I'm just going to do. Okay, so let's go to, that was Pedro. So Joyce, can you please read question H?
What major institution was just established?
Okay. Things are happening in chapter 9. Okay, so Marianne can hear us. Fantastic. So Marianne, let me explain the PDF I sent you. If you have that, we're reading, and we're now on page 2, and we are, and Joyce just read question H. H as in hello. So if you have that, please open that up, and then you can follow where we are. Okay, so question H is, what major institution was just established? What do you think? And I'm not talking about capital punishment. It's an institution on earth. What do you think, Pedro?
The Dominion mandate.
Okay, the Dominion mandate. Well, that's earlier, but it's kind of like that. But when you think of it, when God said man can seek justice against other man, who executes that justice? Individual men by themselves with no authority?
God, also God.
Well, God's authority, but again, I don't think I get to decide that I can kill someone who's a murderer or spilled blood. It's not for me to decide. So this was government. Okay, so that's the major institution that was just established in Genesis 9:6, was government among man, because it was necessary to create a process. All right, so for someone in a legitimate manner to decide who has broken the rules, and here's the judgment and how it's going to be executed. Okay, hello, Marianne, we have your picture now. How nice to see you.
Hello.
Hello.
And so Marianne,
Hello,
maybe you know
everyone.
Pedro. Thank you. Good to see you and hear.
Hi.
Okay.
And perhaps
Nice to see you
Pedro
guys.
and Lucas. So they
Nice
are,
meeting.
do you know them? Okay, so that's
No.
Ellington and Lady's children. Ellington and Lady, who worked at the bookstore for a long time.
Okay.
So anyway, welcome. Great to see you. So we're in the middle of your first English class on Genesis. What an honor to have you. So let's go ahead and
The honor is mine.
thank you, Marianne. What great English.
Let's go.
Okay, so let's go to you, Marianne, if you'd like. Do you have the PDF? Can you read question I?
Yes,
Ice cream. Look
I
at you.
downloaded.
Okay, excellent. So if you go to second page, question
Okay.
I, and read that out loud for us, please. Joyce just read question H, what major institution was just established? And question I starts with, was it?
Is the 5,
Uh,
number 5?
question I, nope, that's too far down. So further up in the page, there's
Okay.
G, H, and then question I. In the top of the
Okay.
page.
Okay. That's right here?
It should be. Yeah, there we are. I think you have Genesis 9:6 at the top, correct? That's page 2.
Yes.
Okay, then just go down 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, and that's question I, as in ice cream.
Okay. Okay. Was it established to provide welfare or social justice?
Well, excellently pronounced. Thank you. Okay, so who would like to reply? You don't have to reply to your own question, Marianne. Anyone can reply. So was government just established to provide welfare or social justice?
Social justice.
Social justice.
Well, I'm not sure this is social justice. I know some Christian churches say the gospel is all social justice. But this sounds like it was instituted to execute judgment and execute justice, but I'm not sure if that's social justice, at least how we define social justice today. Okay, because as I understand, social justice is a term on the left, and it's about finding equality between certain groups. So it's like societal justice.
Yeah, but the way you wrote the question means
Yeah.
it's either this or that answer.
Okay,
And it's closer to social justice than it is to provide welfare.
I agree entirely. And you're absolutely right. That is one way to interpret that, the or as if one has to be true in the other, but it also can be, was it established to provide welfare or social justice or something else? Okay, so maybe in this case, something else. Definitely not welfare. So, okay, so let's go to Johan. Johan, can you read question J? J for Johan.
Didn't this already exist under Nimrod?
Okay, so there's a trick question. If you know, we're in chapter 9. Nimrod was back in chapter 6. Wasn't there government back then? Trick question.
I think no.
Okay, well, I agree with you partially. Or maybe, so what, let's say, was there government under Nimrod? I think
I
so.
think I think Nimrod was only a people that built some cities, and so it will be a government only because he built these cities.
I agree, and I think that's answering the question. Yeah, he did have he did create his own government, but it was not a God-sanctioned government. Okay, so he created an early form of government that was a wrong form, a man-made government, and that got them into lots of trouble. But it's for him to get all sorts of workers to build a massive tower into the sky, that needs a form of government. That was forced labor. He was paying them. I don't know, or I don't know what he was doing, but he got a whole bunch of people to work under him. Okay, so let's move on. So Lucas, can you please read question K in English?
What are the major dispensations or economies of man up to this time?
Beautifully pronounced, Lucas. Mary Ann, as you can hear, Lucas has a musical ear and he pronounces English beautifully from a very young age. So what a blessing to all of
I
us.
see.
I think you have a musical ear too. So, okay, so I know these are big words, but what are the major dispensations, which is a biblical word, or economies of man up to this time? Now, why is this question? Because we just entered a new dispensation with Genesis 9:6, and that new dispensation is government, God-sanctioned government on earth. But what kind of dispensations were there before? What sort of it's thought of as a major period of time where certain things were ordered in such and such a way, and then things changed. Well, it's it. Go ahead, Pedro.
Is it that God was the unique government?
Okay. Yes. Well, so yes. So we just suggested we're in a new dispensation because God has just mandated government on earth. what kind of dispensations did we have before then? So just thinking through what happened since creation. Well, there's one that's pretty straightforward. There's the Edenic dispensation. So if you think what was happening, and that's a hard way to Edenic. So in the Garden of Eden, there was a certain dispensation, a fantastic dispensation. Man walked with God in the garden, and there was no sin for most of the time. So that was the first dispensation for humankind. And then that already implies as soon as the fall came, and original sin entered and death entered, we're in the post-Edenic. And maybe that lasted until now, which is post-flood. Okay, but there's Christians have many different names, and they think of maybe 7, some go to 11 different dispensations represented by the entire Bible's history. But anyway, it's an interesting comment, but not critical. So that's Pedro. Can you read question L in English?
Why was the new establishment necessary?
Okay. So let's think on the big picture. Why did God all of a sudden, okay, capital punishment and government, new dispensation, post-flood?
Yeah, because there were a lot of sinners,
Yes, absolutely.
wickedness.
Yeah. So, and think of it. Well, we know before the flood, there were sinners everywhere. But even with the family that from Noah's family, and Noah was perfect in his generations, not in his behavior, maybe clean, let's say, in his ancestry. But as we all know, that wasn't enough. That didn't take away sin. And so let's look at the next verse, which then kind of explains how bad things were before the flood and also why this new dispensation was necessary, anticipating that things would get almost as bad again one day as pre-flood. So can anyone guess what verse in Genesis is this next verse? I put it as XX.
Yes,
Sorry?
we know it. Yeah, we know it. It's like 6 verse 5.
Thank you. Okay, Joyce, way to go. All right, so Lucas, that was Pedro, Lucas. So it's now Lucas's turn. Can you read then Genesis 6:5 in English, please, Lucas? I mean Pedro. Sorry for my confusion.
God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually.
Beautifully read. All right, evil. It's a little more emphasis on the evil. It's an evil word, but it okay. And you know what? I was confused. Lucas already read a verse a little bit earlier, so we'll next go to Marianne. But first of all, let's have that verse in Portuguese, please.
E viu o Senhor que a maldade do homem se multiplicará sobre a terra e que toda a imaginação dos pensamentos de seu coração era só mal continuamente.
Thank you, Joyce. Beautifully read. Any suggestion from our Portuguese scholars on her pronunciation?
I have one suggestion about emphasis, the emphasis of multiplicar. I think you say multiplicará.
Like in the future, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is in the present?
So do you want to say that then for her, just to make it clear?
Multiplicará.
Exactly. Okay, so no emphasis on the end.
Multiplicar.
Okay, beautiful.
Yes.
Okay, so that's one of the most convicting verses in all the Bible. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And unfortunately, this is not just pre-flood. Man, by his natural nature, his thoughts continually go back to evil thoughts. So, did you want to say something, Marianne?
It's good.
Okay. So, that is the review that we did from the last class. And now, partly because I made a mistake last class and I said it was the second commandment when it was the sixth commandment. For my benefit, let's take a quick look at the 10 commandments because it just so how could I have mixed up the commandments? So I now want to share them again with you and let's look at them quickly together. So we're going to be reading fewer verses and talking more about the commandments in a short period of time. So a quick study. So now let's go to Marianne for question 1 in English, please.
Were there any commandments prior to the 10 commandments?
My apologies, that S in prior does not belong there. That's my fault. So you said it perfectly. Commandment prior to the 10 commandments. Okay, so there we are. Tough question. Were there any commandments before these, the 10?
I think that there were other commandments priors, but they are like the same. But was the same essence,
Same what? I didn't hear you.
the same essence,
Same
same thing.
action. Okay. Well, can you point to any verse? I can think of a very big commandment in Genesis 1.
Mhm.
Yes, Mary.
Don't eat the fruit.
That's a good one, but that's kind of a limited commandment to in the Garden of Eden. So I'm talking about a commandment that was everlasting, that God established and still applies to us today. I think Johan knows.
Do not shed blood.
Well,
He's talking about Genesis 1.
we just saw that. We're talking about that. But let's go back to Genesis 1. Anything in Genesis 1 that looks like a commandment?
I ain't going to my Bible.
Okay, good. Always a good thing to do. Okay, because we don't have that many minutes left in the class, I'm going to answer for you. It's the dominion mandate. Genesis 1:28. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply. Okay, so he just told us first commandment is get married and have children. Okay, so that is the first commandment. You can also add into that because it's the dominion mandate. You're going to have dominion over the fish of the sea and over all animals. So the commandment is not just dominion, but you are going to take care of. So man is now to take care of all animals, take care of the earth. He has been given headship over the earth and its animals, and he has to take care of them. Okay, so that's one. There's a much more subtle one that has no verse behind it. And that was, what was Cain's problem? Why did Cain, how did Cain err?
It was jealousy. Yeah.
Before then,
jealous.
before then. When he killed, he was jealous. But what was the first mistake he makes? Big mistake.
Right?
Yeah, has it to do with the offerings he made?
Exactly right. He made the wrong kind of offering. Okay, whereas Abel did a animal sacrifice, Cain brought the first fruits. And where did it say anywhere here in the Bible that that was the case? It doesn't. But we have to assume that God told Adam and Eve, and they told their children, you have to make an animal sacrifice. Correct? So that seems to be, there must have been a commandment. It's not written anywhere, but it's implied. Okay, so let's go. On to Joyce, question 2 in English.
What makes the Ten Commandments unique?
Okay, what's unlike any other commandment in the Bible, what is so different about the 10 commandments?
God wrote them down
How?
With his hand.
on tablets.
With his finger. So agreed.
With his hand.
Directly written by God. Okay, great.
Mhm.
So Johan, question 3. Please,
Can
in
one
English.
be saved by following the Ten Commandments? One cannot follow the Ten Commandments.
Correct. Okay, it's impossible. Who's the only person who followed the 10 commandments so far?
Jesus.
Jesus.
Yes. Okay. And I think and I'm just going to have to read it for you because we're James 2:10. For whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all. So you break one little part, you're guilty of all the rest. Okay, so Lucas, can you read question 4 in English?
What was their purpose then?
Okay, well pronounced. Thank you, Lucas. Okay, so if it was impossible to be saved by the 10 commandments, what's the use?
To show us what not to do or what to do.
Okay, and what's another word to say to show us what not to do? To reveal or convict us of sin. Okay, so this is to say, all right, I think I can understand what God wrote with his finger, and uh-oh, I think I did that. I told a lie. I've been sinful. Okay, so let's go. That was Lucas. So Pedro, can you read question 5, please, in English?
The first 5 commandments pertain to what subject?
Okay, so it's generally thought that the 10 commandments are in 2 parts, and the first part pertains to who, more or less?
The other.
The Father. Absolutely right, Marianne. So they pertain to God and man's relationship to him. Okay, so the first 5 are it's about God. Marianne, can you read question 6 in English, please?
Which of the first 5 did the Catholic, what did you say? Catholic Church wish to remove?
Very good. And your second try, you said Catholic in English correctly.
Catholic.
Yeah.
Okay.
And whenever the word is very similar in English and Portuguese, it's hard to get the pronunciation correct because we automatically go to the pronunciation we're used to, but Catholic in English is right.
Yeah.
So which of the first 5 did the Catholic Church want to eliminate?
Yeah, and don't make idols.
Yes, and which one is that?
Like the second?
Yes. Okay, so the second is from Exodus 20, verse 4, and I'm going to read from the King James because it doesn't actually say don't make idols, but it does say, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above. Okay, so is like, do Catholics believe that Mary's in heaven? Yeah. Do they make images of her? Yes. Lots and lots and lots. Okay, so that's the answer to the question, that the Catholic Church tried to remove the second commandment. And I know this. I visited a nice Catholic woman with friends in Belo Horizonte, and in her guest bedroom, she had a Catholic Bible, and there was a list of the 10 commandments at the end of the Bible. And guess what? The second commandment was not in the list. So if you remove one commandment, you don't have 10 anymore. So what do you think they did?
They
They
divided.
split one up.
Yes, absolutely right. Pedro and Johan are absolutely right. They split up number 10. Okay, so thou shalt not cover thy neighbor's wife, number 9, and thou shalt not cover thy neighbor's house first and then wife. So they made those 2 commandments. Oh, how sad. Okay, so let's go to question 7 now, and that will be, Johan, can you read question 7 in English?
The last 5 commandments treat what subject?
Okay, so if the first 5 are about God and man's relationship to him, what are the last 5 about?
Man and man.
Yeah.
About man. Yeah,
Harm.
mankind, correct. Okay, so here we'll get to a slightly controversial subject. Some Christians disagree. So Lucas, can you please read question 8 in English?
The commandment is not written in man's conscience.
Beautifully pronounced, Lucas. Note 10 to translate directly from the Portuguese. Okay, so what of the 10 commandments is something that when you're born and you're growing up, if you did that, you would not have a strange feeling in yourself. You're like, oh, that was wrong. Okay, so I believe 9 of the 10 commandments all are part of our God-given conscience, and we feel bad immediately, even when we're a child, when we do that. So which is the one that maybe is not written in our conscience? Okay, any idea? Well, Johan and Joyce might remember from our conversation over lunch on Saturday, the 4th commandment. Okay, the 4th commandment is what? It's about keeping the Sabbath day. Okay, and I would say when you're young, you don't naturally feel like, oh, I just broke the Sabbath and I feel bad. Right. Okay. So, and that's in Exodus 28. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
20.
Oh, I think you already answered the next question. And that is, Pedro, can you read question 9, please?
Which commandment do many Catholic Bibles split into?
Okay, so remember that's a different pronunciation in English for that word about the capital C. Try it again. Capital C is? Yes,
Catholic.
exactly. Emphasis in the beginning. Okay, Catholic Bibles. Okay, so we already know that, right? That was the 10th, which is Exodus 20:17, that they split in half. Okay, so another controversial question for you. And that will be Mary Ann. Can you read question 10, please?
Are Christians under the...
Okay, very good. I think she just froze. Okay, I'm back. So thank you. Very well.
Froze.
Yeah, I'm back. So thank you. Very well read. So what do we think? Are Christians under, with the emphasis of under, the 10 Commandments?
I'm on the
Under.
no side.
Okay. All right, interesting. So
Me too.
Johan and
No.
Joyce, okay, agree with me. And again, there's some Christians who are think otherwise. And when I say under, the idea is, are they binding and work the same way that they did back in the old dispensation? All right, before Jesus is coming, and maybe not. Okay, so I don't want to shock anyone, but remember in Romans 7:6, Paul does say died to the law. Okay, the law exists, but with the coming of Jesus Christ, in a certain sense, we died to the law. Yet on their side, John 14:15 says, keep my commandments. Jesus Christ is saying, keep my commandments. That sounds like, yes, the 10 Commandments are part of his commandments and we have to keep them. But are we under them is the question here. So it's a little bit of a subtle question. And let me say we might not be under them, but we are, in a sense, our commandments are higher and more difficult. Can you think of 2 commandments that Jesus made more difficult for Christians than they were for Jews?
We're not supposed to commit homicide in the 10 Commandments, and Jesus says, do not even hate or have bad thoughts about another.
Right, about your brother, particularly without cause. All right, that's Matthew 5:22. Okay, so there we are. So in other words, if we have bad thoughts or anger without cause against a brother, that is the same as murder. Wow. And there's one other, which is pretty famous. What do you think? Maybe Pedro or Marianne? Which one? There's one more where Jesus made it much more difficult.
I know, but I don't know how to say. So
Okay.
I'm silent.
That's okay. You know which one. And remember, you can, try to piece the English together. So you can say it was something about women, men and women.
Yes, the desire of the heart.
Exactly. Okay. So you already answered the question correctly. So in Matthew 5:28, Jesus says, and I'm not going to go to the verse, but essentially lust with your eyes after a woman is the same as adultery, okay, as committing adultery with her. So things are a lot tougher. So in a sense, we're under a higher law.
I think Jesus go far than the commandments.
I agree. I agree. I think that's what we're and think of remember when Jesus was asked to summarize the commandments, and he said to love your Father God with all your heart and all your mind. Does anyone accomplish that every day, every moment of the day?
No.
Okay, so it's there we are. All right, we are sinners. One day in heaven, we will be able to love our Father God and Jesus Christ every moment of every day in every way. But
Amen.
amen. So we have a little more time to get there, but I am looking forward to it. All right, so last question, because it's 5 o'clock already. All right, so another controversial question. So number 11, and that will go to Joyce. Can you read question 11 in English?
What is their usefulness to Christians then? They're
Okay,
helping us.
agreed. I agree. Okay, but we're not under them. So can't we just like push them away?
No. No,
Agreed.
because it's like a life standard. It helps
Yes.
the right choices.
I agree entirely. And and maybe what do you think? How can we as Christians best use the Ten Commandments when we're testifying to other people?
To point out their sinfulness and that
Exactly
they
right.
need Jesus.
Exactly right. So there's a terrific one of the best street evangelizers in the United States named Mark Cahill. And so he's one of that's I'm not going to work too bright. They're like, and he is very, and I think he's the best street evangelist in the United States. He evangelizes on the street everywhere all the time. He goes to major festivals. He goes to football matches. He goes to everywhere to evangelize. And for him, the Ten Commandments are the most important first thing to convict anyone of sin. Because you ask most people, hey, are you a good person? And if the young person will say, yes, of course I'm a good person. I'm nice to my grandparents. I'm nice to my dog. Okay. And then he takes them through, like, it's very easy. Right. Well, have you ever lied in your life? Yes. What does that make you? A liar.
Sinner.
Yeah.
Liar.
A liar. Yeah, a sinner. Have you ever stolen something, like a small little thing, even when you were a child? Did you steal food? A chocolate bar?
A cookie.
Yes. And what does that make you? A thief. And you
A
can go
thief.
through all 10 commandments, and most everyone will have to admit, I am full of sin, and I deserve to go to hell if that's the price of being a sinner. So that's it for tonight's class. Marianne, thank you so much for joining us. And let me do this. We always do any questions or comments in English before we end the recording.
Okay. It is recurring.
Let's say it again.
It is recording.
It is recording. I would tell you, but it started in the beginning, so it's before you joined us.
Okay,
Okay,
it's
so
okay.
thank you everyone for watching. I'm just going to end the recording.